Good morning, everybody, and this is your Forex day trade setup for today. So we did get some negative data coming out of the US on Friday, and well, actually conflicting data because we had the jobs, the payroll number, which was a little bit better than expected, but unemployment rate was down. But when you slice and dice into the payroll number, it's actually not that bad. It actually was very positive. So there's an argument for why everything's happening. But anyway, for me on the daily, this is clearly a break of the 150 EMA, and you can take this level and just fine tune it onto these lows here. You can see that's the daily close below that, and when you take it onto the weekly, you can see that is not quite a rejection bar. That could very well be a setup for a long. Okay, no, it doesn't look like it because everything's red, but trust me, when you see an inverse hammer like that with a tail that big, the chances of it moving to the upside is also fairly strong. So the moving averages are pointing to the upside as well. We've got a bit of divergence here as well. So there's a lot brewing here, which doesn't necessarily agree with the picture we see here. Okay, so keep that in mind. So this is something where the trend is down and we should only be trading with the trend to the downside. But what I'm seeing with a big hammer like that, inverse hammer on the weekly, that always sets off warning bells in my head. And there's probably a pattern in some chart book for that. But anyway, that's kind of the warning bells for me. So trading short, we should wait for a rejection of 108.351. But saying that, if you start getting some really strong green bars up to here, then this gap will definitely close, and then I would expect this trend to reverse. So I'm going to call this a sit on hands scenario at the moment. There's a lot of chaos to left here, so we'd have to break below 107.657 and retest that for me to start looking at shorts. I'm not actually going to be interested in taking a short off this area either, and you may be well advised to pay attention to your 50 minutes. So this was a big move down, granted, but as I say, when you slice and dice the data, it's not as bad as what the dollar made it out to be. So it's almost a 1% move to the downside. This to me just smells of trap. So proceed with caution. So I'm kind of sitting on the sides of this. I'm not really going to get involved in this. I don't want to be jumping in short at the bottom here. There's too much structure right below us. I will consider a short here at 108.351, but it'll be a very small position size, just based on the gap that we've got above us. And yeah, that's kind of the view that I've got at the moment. If we do start building structure, then we're going to have to start looking at a different outlook. But I think the dollar's strength is a bit risky at the moment. Moving on to US dollar Japanese yen, and you can see that's a pretty solid bull bar here. Okay, so that does align with what we're seeing on euro, but just looking at the data, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so again, yeah, trend is up, oscillators group, perfect setup for continuation to the upside, but I am a little bit cautious with that picture. And big juicy gap here. You can see we've got onto the top here and just gone sideways. So we're going to have to clear not just 146.246, but we're also going to need to clear 146.561 before I even start looking at this. Look at the oscillators. I suspect more of a move down to come and close this gap and then figure out what we're going to do, to be honest. And I don't want to take that short because that's against the trend, the bigger trend. And I definitely will not be looking for longs here either. So I need to see us break proper structure before I start looking at the dollar. So we're just going to leave that alone. Moving on to British pound Japanese yen. This is definitely starting to look interesting. And you can see lower high last week, and if you just look at the weekly bar, that is another rejection. Story of threes. So you can see three tails here, head and shoulders, whatever way you want to look at it, but that's typically a signal that we should be looking for some kind of a pullback. Now there's no structure to pull back to that's very close, so that in itself is a problem. But when you get down to the hour, you start seeing cross over the moving averages. Granted, Friday was a bit of a mess, but there is definitely structure there. Each one of these tails. So what you'd be looking for, and you'd be well advised to do this on the 15-minute. Okay, and you can see how clear it comes on the 15-minute. This is the level we need to see us get below, and then we need to test it. So 184084 needs to see a break below that, a pullback to come and test that, and then we have a fairly decent short setup. And there's no real structure to the left that's close by. So that's why I'm saying, it's looking really, really interesting. And you could also look for one of these tails here. I'm going to draw them in. You can draw them in. You can see them all here on the 15-minute. Every single one of these fractals. There. That pin bar is probably the one that you need to pay the most attention to. That one there. You can see lots happened with, you can see there's a pin bar there, but look at all those tails there. So that's probably the one you need to be paying attention to for a continuation down. And there are a few gaps here which you could also target. So you'd be targeting something in the area of 183685. Lastly, Euro British Pound. So looking at the 8th hour, we've got a crossover the moving averages. We're below the 155. Trend is down. Oscillators don't agree with us though, but it is pretty much a fairly decent setup for a trend at the moment, and we need to come to the hour in order for this to, how do I put it? We need to come to the hour in order for us to see what we're going to do. Anyway, sorry, bit of a brain fart there. This is the level that I would be interested in, is 085656. Definitely something I need to be paying attention to. And then this one here. Now just bear in mind that if we're looking for shorts on British Pound, Japanese Yen, technically we should be seeing the opposite here. So just keep that in your back of your mind. So this could just range still, and I think that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. Just leave this alone. Don't trust what I'm seeing here. But you could see an opportunity, but you could also get burnt. So it could also be a trap. So in my opinion right now on Forex, there are way too many traps with what's going on. And I look at on the indexes, it's pretty much similar kind of view. There's nothing concrete. So yeah, I'd be very cautious. I think that's what I'm getting at. Be very cautious. I'm going to be sitting on the side with Forex, not going to really be trying to chase anything, but this is going to set up the bigger moves for the rest of the year, I think, and that's kind of where we are. Anyway, hope it helps, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow morning. Cheers for now.